Welcome back to AfaqIelts Easy Self-Study Pack. This is the second video in the listening section. One important challenge that IELTS candidates must meet is a variety of questions in all four parts of the listening test that deal with a number of some kind, or whose answer is actually a number. As I said earlier, in all four parts of the listening test, there might be a set of questions of different types. Gap filling, multiple choice, or even short answer questions that require you should put or choose or write a number as the answer. You might be wondering why I'm putting so much emphasis on this. The answer is clear. I've come across IELTS listening tests with even about 50% of the answers as numbers. So in this video, I'll deal with this challenge. Of course, the numbers that you might come across in the IELTS listening exam may vary as you are working with different parts of the listening test. For instance, part 1 of the listening test is always a conversation. In this conversation, the speakers exchange information on a general, everyday topic or situation. Let me provide a couple of examples for you. You may hear a telephone conversation between a travel agent and a customer who's asking for information about the tour the travel agency has advertised. Here, you might have to answer questions that are about the dates of the tours on offer, or the prices, or even the length of each tour. The agent may need to contact the customer later, so he might need her telephone number, or even her address that usually contains a number. Here's another situation. A tourist or a traveler on a trip needs a car, so he pays a visit to a car hire service. There is a conversation between him and the clerk, and again, the customer asks for some information about the time that he gets the car, or about the time that he must return the car. The fees for different types of cars, the cost of insurance, or the number that he should contact if he has an accident. So these are the types of numbers that you should be putting in the blank spaces, as this part most of the time has gap filling types of different kinds. بسیار خوب. بریم سر تمرین. اولین مشکلی که بچه‌ها باهاش درگیر هستن تفاوت تلفظ اعدادی از قبیل 15 و 50 است. اینا مخصوصا وقتی که در متن یه محاوره قرار میگیرن و به عنوان بخشی از یه عدد بزرگتر هستن، مثلا 2115 یا 2150 مشکل ایجاد میکنه. خب بریم سراغ تلفظ این اعداد. به خاطر داشته باشید که اعداد 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 با استرس در ابتدای کلمه تلفظ میشن. یعنی 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. در حالی که اعداد 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 و 19 با استرس توی بخش دوم کلمه تلفظ میشن. مثل 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 and 19. حالا به چند جمله و تست توجه کنید تا تفاوت اینها رو کاملا درک بکنید.
Exercise 1.2a. Write down the numbers you hear in the following sentences. 1.
Scotland is 275 miles long and at its broadest point only 150 miles wide.
So as you heard in the first example, it was 150, not 115. So choice A is the correct answer.
2.
Edinburgh averages 140 days of rain a year, with an average of 1.89 and 2.72 inches in January and July respectively.
Number 2, it says that Edinburgh averages 140 days of rain. It's not 114. So choice A again is the correct answer.
3.
Its average temperature in summer is 65 degrees Fahrenheit or 18 degrees centigrade.
And for question number 3, as you heard, it is 18 degrees centigrade, not 80.
4.
There are more than 440 golf courses in Scotland, the game being played as long ago as the 1400s.
And for question number 4, as you heard, it is talking about the number of golf courses in Scotland. It was 440, not 414. So again, choice A is the correct answer.
5.
Wales is approximately 170 miles long and 60 miles wide, 8,000 square miles in total.
So the question for number 5 says Wales is 170 miles long, not 117. Again, the correct answer for number 5 would be choice A.
6.
The University of Manchester has over 18,000 students and almost 3,000 academic staff.
So, question number 6 is about the number of students in the University of Manchester. And as you heard, it was 18,000, not 80,000. So, correct answer would be choice B.
7.
Liverpool stretches about 13 miles along the River Mersey.
Number 7, here it says that the city of Liverpool stretches along River Mersey for 13 miles, not 30. And again, the answer is choice B.
8.
Well, we're organising a dinner to raise money for a charity, and we're hoping for at least 150 people. So, I think we'll go for the main hall.
Number 8, as you heard for the blank space, when the question talks about they expect to receive about how many guests, you heard that the lady mentioned they think that they will have about 150 guests, not 115.
How much would that cost?
Let's see. You wanted it for the evening of September the 1st?
Yes, that's a Saturday.
So from 6 p.m. to midnight, that'd be £115. That's the weekend price.
And again for number 8, for the second blank space, as you mentioned, they wanted the hall from 6 p.m. to midnight, and he mentioned that the weekend price is £115, not 150.
9.
If you're pretty serious about cycling, there's the full membership. That costs $260, and that covers you not just for ordinary cycling, but also for races both here in the city and also in other parts of Australia.
Right. Well, I'm not really up to that standard. I was more interested in just joining a group to do some cycling in my free time.
Here for number 9, as you just heard, the gentleman mentioned that full membership costs $260, not $216.
10.
Okay. Now, can you tell me a bit about the rides I can do?
Sure. So we have training rides pretty well every morning, and they're a really good way of improving your cycling skills as well as your general level of fitness. But they're different levels. Level A is pretty fast. You're looking at about 30 or 35 kilometres an hour. If you can do about 25 kilometres an hour, you'd probably be level B. And then level C are the novices who stay at about 15 kilometres per hour.
And for question number 10, the gentleman speaks about different levels of speed for different types of cyclists, and level A is at 35 kilometers per hour, a level B is at 25 kilometers per hour. For level C, the speed is at 15, not 50. Although the examples I provided here were mainly from part 1 of the listening test, the chances that you have to deal with numbers in other parts are quite high. In part 2 of the listening test, there will be a monologue in a general everyday context. For instance, you may have to listen to a radio program that gives information about museum visits during a certain time. Here, you may have to deal with times, dates, prices, and so on. Another part 2 example might be a travel expert giving information about a certain tourist attraction. She might give information about journey times, distances, accommodation prices, and so on. خب، نوع دیگری از اعداد که در آزمون شنیداری آیلتس ممکنه باهاش سر کار داشته باشید، اعدادی هستن که خورده دارن. ساده ترین مثال برای این اعداد تایم هستش که ساعت و دقیقه رو نشون میده. البته در مورد تایم فکر نمی کنم مشکل زیادی وجود داشته باشه. فقط اینجا به 2 کلمه quarter که به معنی ربع ساعت هست و half که به معنی نیم هستش اکتفا میکنم. بعداً تمریناشو هم با هم دیگه انجام میدیم. فرم بعدی اعداد که خورده دارن اعداد با اعشار هستن، مثل این عدد. خب این عدد رو چطور میخونید؟ در انگلیسی اعشار رو با کلمه point جدا میکنن. بنابراین این عدد 7.25 خونده میشه. کسرهای دیگری هم مثل این a half یا 2/3 2/3 یا 3/4 3/4 و 1/4 a quarter میخونن. یه فرم دیگه اعداد که ممکنه باز خورده داشته باشه قیمت ها هستن. خب یادتون باشه که اغلب قیمت ها در آیلتس به پاوند که این علامتشه و یا دلار که باز علامتش این هست داده میشه و معمولا اغلب قیمت ها توی آیلتس روند هستن. ولی اگر قیمتی مثل این رو شنیدید و یا قیمتی مثل این دو $6.90 یا £8.50 خونده میشن که البته کلمه های پاوند و دلار رو میشه انداخت و بنابراین میتونیم بگیم $6.90 یا $8.50. خب اینجا اجازه بدید بریم سراغ مثال و تمرین. گوش کنید و تلاش کنید جواب بدید به این سوال.
1.
Edinburgh averages 140 days of rain a year, with an average of 1.89 and 2.72 inches in January and July, respectively.
So, for number 1, you heard that on average in Edinburgh it rains 2.72 or 2.72 inches of rain.
2.
Edinburgh Zoo, with Scotland's largest animal collection, is set amidst 197.6 hectares of parkland.
As you heard, for number 2, it speaks about Edinburgh Zoo, and you just heard that it is located in a plot at what size? 197.6 hectares in size. 197.6.
3.
Over 2.9 million people live in Wales. They comprise almost 5% of the total population of Britain.
Number 3 mentions that Wales has a population of 2.9 million inhabitants.
4.
1.8 million people, 60% of the Welsh population, live in the highly industrialised southeast region.
For number 4, you hear that the industrialised southeast region has a population of 1.8 million people.
5.
The clock tower next to the Houses of Parliament, containing the 13.5-ton bell called Big Ben, is 320 feet tall.
Number 5, it mentions that Big Ben weighs 13.5 tons.
6.
Do you know the name of the author? I'll do a search.
Yes, it's by a man called Richard Watson.
Watson, as in W-A-T-S-O-N.
Yes, that's right.
Oh, yes, here it is. It's only just been released. It's a self-help book, is that right?
Yes.
Now, it costs £12.99.
Yep, that's fine.
Very good. For number 6, here you heard the question. He mentioned that the newly released self-help book costs £12.99 or £12.99.
7.
Though one definite trend is the change in the number of women. Nowadays they make up around 55% of the total, whereas years ago there used to be a majority of men calling. At one time, I heard, as many as 3/4 of all credit cards were actually held by men, but that must have been long before I was there.
For question number 7, you hear that it mentioned that once there were 75% or male credit card holders created 3/4 of them.
8.
The museum is open during the day until 5 p.m, so please collect belongings no later than 5:15, and please vacate the building by 5:30. No new admissions will be allowed after 4:30 p.m.
Number 8. The museum does not allow visitors to stay after 5:30 or 5:30, as it mentioned.
9.
Tours last 50 minutes, starting at 10:15, 11:30 and 1:15, with a maximum of 13 children per group.
For number 9, there are different times that the tour starts. The first one is 10:15 and the other one is at 11:30. And the last one is at 1:15 or 1:15.
10.
Right, well, the rate will be £50 for a week or £14 per day.
For number 10, as you heard, for the first blank space, it mentioned that the rentals would be £50 a week or £14 a day.
So it's a lot cheaper to rent by the week?
Yes, definitely. Though it's important to bring the bike back on time. Otherwise, I'm afraid we have to charge a late return fee.
And how much is that?
For each additional hour, it's £1.25.
So if you were a day late, it would cost another £30?
Yes, that's right.
And for the second blank space, you heard that late return fees are £1.25 or £1.25 per extra hour. Very well. Too much for numbers, but there are still other forms of numbers that you might come across in the IELTS exam. Before we deal with them, I'd like you to listen to another example whose answers are all numbers. گوش کنید به این قطعه و تلاش کنید که جوابها رو بدید.
The story it tells is elemental, without dying dinosaurs or even Bruce Willis to complicate its simple message of destruction. First, the numbers. About 590 million years ago.
So, for this part of the test, as you mentioned, the meteorite acronym mentions the word million years ago, and the word that goes before it is 590, not 519.
A rocky meteorite more than 4 kilometers across and travelling at around 90,000 kilometers an hour slammed into an area of red volcanic rock about 430 kilometers northwest of Adelaide.
For the second blank space, you hear that it's talking about the speed, and the speed that the audio mentions was 90,000 kilometers an hour.
Within seconds, the meteorite vaporized in a ball of fire, carving out a crater about 4 kilometres deep and 40 kilometres in diameter, and spawning earthquakes fierce enough to raise 100-metre-high tsunamis in a shallow sea 300 kilometres away.
So, for the third blank space, it says that after the meteorite hit, it vaporized and it carved out a crater 4 kilometers deep. So, the answer for number 3 would be 4. The depth would be 4.
Carving out a crater about 4 kilometres deep and 40 kilometres in diameter.
And 40, 4-0 for number 4 in diameter, the width or diameter. So the answer for number 4 would be 40. Okay, this brings us to the end of this video. In the next video, I will continue with some more points about numbers, and I will also give you some hints and tips about spelling, names, and some other things. Thank you very much. See you in the next video.